Welcome back to Blam Blam Truckers. I'm Bees. This is a solo video. We're going to be diving into Barding, what it means to be a bard in EverQuest. Yeah, we did the 6 rolls. 6 rolls. This is, of course, butter rolls, cinnamon rolls, thunder rolls. No, there are 6 rolls in a group for EverQuest. 6. And they are the traditional 3: tanking, damage, and healing. Then there's the other 3 for EverQuest: buffing and debuffing, pulling, and crowd control. Bards are great at 4 out of, well, they're great at 3 out of 6. They help with the 4th quite a bit. And they are one of the best. And when I say they're great, I mean, so the 6 rolls are tanking, damage, and healing. They're not very good at healing. They're not very good at tanking. They can do it. They help quite a bit. They can't really. They're slow damage dealers. I don't know how else to tell you this. But they're different. Bards are just built different. I don't think there's another class like them anywhere in all of the MMOs out there. So let me tell you. Let's see if this appeals to you. You're not going to be adding into the group damage. You're not going to be tanking. So let's take those 2 away. For healing, you do regen healing better than anyone as long as you're able to sit in the group. You can just pump out the hit points faster than anyone else. You are not a targeted healing guy, and you heal everybody in the group all at once. It's pretty impressive, but it's not. If a bard is healing the group, there's a good chance you might be dying, or you're going to be doing your healing. You're going to pull 5 mobs, kill them, and then do your healing. As for the other 3, crowd control, pulling, and buffing and debuffing, I don't know if there's any other class that does all 3 of those as well as a bard. Maybe an enchanter, but probably not. Yeah, I don't think so. Enchanters are better at crowd control, but bards are insane at pulling. They're probably the best pulling class in the game. And monks will be like, what about us? I don't know why monks are so high-pitched. What's up with that? Monks have one great ability that make them the second best pulling class in a game, in my opinion. But their feign death is great, but it is not everything a bard can do. If a bard is focused on it, they just get all the tools they need. We're going to go over that. And then buffing and debuffing. Bards get the best damage shields, the best magic resist, the best mana regen, the best regular regen, and they can pump AC at the same time, and various stats. And we're going to go over that a little bit here, because that's why I have this window up, because this is everquest.alakazam.com, which does not come up when I do a Google search anymore. I don't know why. So I had to type it in from memory. You can see it, I think. Let me just double check this window. Yeah, you can see. You should be able to see the URL right there. everquest.alakazam, H-A-Z-A-M. A-L-L-A-K-H-A-Z-A-M. alakazam.com. All right. Let's go. So bards get their first song they get at level 1 is Chant of Battle. You start with this song. It increases and bard songs generally work for the entire group when you're buffing and debuffing. So you start with a buff. You are an incredible buffer and debuffer. And very few of your songs require mana. You don't have to stop to sing them. You can run while you're switching songs. And there's an ability called /melody. And then you type in numbers up to 8, 1 through 8. And they correspond to your song slots. So you can set up and then they repeat. So you can set up 4 songs on melody generally, and you can turn that into a button that you can put on your a macro that you can put onto your what do you call it there, skill bar, and then you can just swap from melody to melody. Generally, most Bard songs last, I think it's 6 seconds, and so you can have up to 3 songs going at one time. We used to call it twisting. Now we just use slash melody. You can still twist, but it would be like, Alt 1, then Alt 1, Alt 2, Alt 2, Alt 3, and wait until the song finishes, and then you would go from 3 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3. You can twist technically 4. It's a little dicey even with melody. You don't get the effect of all 4 all at the same time, except for maybe for a brief second, but you get 3 of the 4 effects all the time. And then the 4th one, you got a couple of seconds of lack there. Some people prefer it that way. Some people prefer to have just do the 3 songs, and you're definitely covered by those 3 songs all at the same time. If that didn't make any sense to you, I apologize, but that is twisting. Like I said, there's no other class like it anywhere that I know of in MMOs. So Chant of Battle increases your armor class, your strength, and your dex. You're going to use this until you get a better song for it, which is a ways away. Level 2, you get your Chords of Dissonance. This is a place-based AoE, so it does an AoE in a small area around you, and it does damage every tick. You will not be using this song in groups very often, because you don't want to damage things in everything around you. You want single target damage. You want a focused damage, because otherwise, as you're mesmerizing things, if you're also doing damage to them, that breaks mesmerization. It helps break root. It destroys crowd control. So you're generally not going to use this in groups. You will use the snot out of it in soloing, especially on classic servers like P99, on TLPs in EverQuest Live. They've restricted this to only hitting a maximum of 4 mobs, just 4, no more, just 4. So it used to be, and you still can over on P99, on an emulated server like that, you can go and you can pull half a zone, if not the full zone, have them all chasing you because you run faster than they do. You can be, and then you slow down as the tick's about to hit, and you nail them with Chords of Dissonance. You get like 3 of these PB AoE damage spells. So you slow down and you let them get a little bit closer, so you hit 30 mobs, a dozen mobs, 2 dozen mobs, 3 dozen mobs, all at the same time, are all taking damage from you. So you're not doing a lot of damage with each one of these hits, but you're hitting a lot of mobs with the same one. That's called, what do we call that? Oh, I forget. Swarm kiting. It can't be done on live EverQuest anymore, not even on TLPs. But they considered it a game-breaking, that you were breaking the spirit of the game. So there you go. Level 4, you get Lysis. You don't get anything at level 3. Level 4, you get Lysis Locating Lyric. This is a corpse find spell. This mattered a lot more when all your items were left on your corpse, but if you still can't find a corpse, you can either get a Necromancer, a Shadow Knight, or a Bard to help you find it. We're only one of 3 classes that can help out on this. Bards really are this kind of multi-tool. Celo's Accelerando hits you at 5. This is the fastest movement speed increaser, one of the fastest movement speed increasers in the game. Definitely the fastest in Classic. All Bards, there's a couple more that Bards get that increase your foot speed. They do not stack, but they're all insane at how much they increase your movement speed. It is noticeable. Having a Spirit of Wolf from a Druid or a Shaman or a Ranger or a Beast Lord on you does not do the same amount of speed increase as Celos Accelerando for the equivalent level. So, Bards are fast. Silly little blueberries. All right. We call Bards blueberries because their level 30 class armor is very, very shiny, and very, very dark blue. They look like blueberries. Level 6, you get your first regen spell, Hymn of Restoration. It's, it's nice. It'll stack with other things that are going on here. It'll stack with Chant of Battle. You can play any 3 of these that you want easily with a melody, or you could twist it the old-fashioned way. Level 7, Jonathan's Whistling War Song. This is a self-only spell. It increases your attack speed considerably, so it's a haste. It also increases your armor class and your strength. This level 7 Bard spell is the effect of the Monk Epic. It makes monks ridiculously dangerous because they can always give themselves haste once they get the epic. And it's a powerful spell. You will not use it for long as a bard. As a bard, your damage is minimal. It is the least amount of thing that you contribute to the group. And if you're a grouping bard, you're not going to be using Jonathan's Whistling War Song for very long because there are better spells to use. It's not because it's not a great spell, but there's better song. Sorry, there are better songs to use. All right, we're 11 minutes in already. Level 8, here's a song you're going to use pretty much through all of Classic. Kellen's Lugubrious Lament. It's a lull, so we've used this example before. You got your bad guy here, Bone Crusher, and he's got an awareness, a radar of this size. You hit him with a lull, reduces it to this size. No mana lull. Boy, that really helps with pulling, doesn't it? All right, so Magical Monologue is Lucklin. That's not in Classic. I'm treating Classic as original and Kentucky Fried. No, Colonel's original. The original game, Kunark and Velius. All right, so we're going to ignore Magical Monologue for now, especially since it's worthless. Magic weapons, all weapons are considered magical in this game now. That was changed like 4 years ago. So enemies that used to require a magical weapon to do damage to them no longer require that. So that's not even a song worth buying. Just wait. Anyway, it's not worth buying. Even when you can buy it, it's not worth buying. Level 9 starts your buffing. You thought you were buffing pretty good with Chant of Battle? Guess what? You were. Now we're doing it a different way. Elemental Rhythms is a song you're going to use up to 50, if not beyond. It increases the magical resist of the group, the cold resist, the fire resist, and it adds a little AC. Not a lot of AC, just a little AC. But every point of AC is important. AC is the most important stat for mitigating non-magical damage. It just is. It's better than stamina. It's better than agility. You need AC. As long as your agility is at 75, AC is what you're going for after that. It is a game changer how much 1 point of AC does for you more than any other stat. It goes AC, stamina up to a point, and then hit points. But you want to get your AC as high as you can get it. And magic resist, bards are the best because this one resists magic, fire, and cold. The next one resists magic, poison, and disease. And if you play them together, you get double magic resist and poison, disease, hot, cold, and a little bit of AC twice. Bards are buffers. They're amazing. They're better at magic damage resist of all types than any other class in the game. Anthem Day Arms is your level 10 spell. We're back to a group spell. This is your first group haste. It's 10%, straight 10% haste. That ain't bad. Increases your strength by 5. If you have no other haste in the game, that is fantastic. And it's not something you really have to think about much like it is for... It's very annoying as a shaman or an enchanter to have to slap haste on people because it is a short-term spell. You put this into your melody, and it's just... You hit your melody button and you fight. If you're buffing the group, that's your job as a bard, that's all you're going to be doing. Level 11. This is Cinda's Charismatic Carillion. I don't know. Carillion. This spell increases your faction. Great for quest turn-ins and selling. But mostly quest turn-ins, because once you're... I think it's indifferent or amiable vendor prices don't go down anymore after that. I think it's amiable. And as considering the races you can be as a bard, there's only 4 when Luckland drops: human, half elf, and wood elf. And your 2 main stats are dexterity, so you don't miss any of your songs while you're playing, and stamina, so you can take a hit. As long as your agility is 75 or higher, and all of them are going to be 75 or higher, you don't have to worry about agility. Dexterity helps you to hit, and it also stops your songs from failing. That is your skill check for making sure your songs work. Like, int casters use intelligence to see if they fizzle or not. Bards use dex to see if they fizzle or not. And whiz casters use wisdom. So, like the priestly classes, clerics, shaman, druids. Anyway, we'll cover that when we get to those. I'm just focusing on the bard here, and I'm already taking too long on these little side things. So this increases your faction with them. Enchanters get a spell line of this called Alliance. Again, it allows you to interact to use magic to increase your favor or your faction with different NPCs. It's a nice spell. It's not a combat spell. It's a nice little utility spell. I think you have to have your wind instrument in when you're doing it. And you'll see here on the sheet over there on the sheet, you will see that it says the skill that's required. You can put an instrument in as a bard to increase that skill. So if you're playing your guitar, when it says string, then like Hymn of Restoration, you actually get a bonus to the amount of healing you do. If you put in a wind instrument, when it says wind, it increases that. So there you go. Brusco's Boastful Bellow, level 12. This is a single target direct damage song. You will not be twisting this into your melody because it uses mana. It is the first song on the list to use mana. Your second charm also uses mana. This is something you want to use tactically. You want to think about what you're doing before you do it. 13, Purifying Rhythms. We already talked about this. Magic resist, poison resist, disease resist, and a little bit of AC. Level 14, not a combat spell. Not used all that much anymore, but back in the day when we didn't know anything about this game, the effect on it was Identify, so it'll tell you exactly what this thing is. Kind of. So if you need to gather for a quest 3 different runes, and each one identifies differently and has to be given away, then you need to cast Identify on it. This does not come up very often. It was not a useful spell. It was not a very useful spell back in the day. You do want it, but you don't need it until like 40 or 50 if you ever need it at all. It's nice to have. And by the time you're getting around to buying it, it's just something nice to have, and it's cheap. 15. So there's a Luckland song there I'm assuming, a Song of Sustenance that replaces food and water, because you do have to eat in this game. But Luckland isn't classic, so I'm not worried about that. Single target, Kellen's Lucid Lullaby. It is your first mez. Congratulations, you're now a real bard. You can mez now, making you not only a crowd control, but also one of the greatest pullers in the game. Because if you pull 4 mobs, you can pause them. Mesmerization is a pause. You can pause them as you run. You don't have to stop. You can just target them. You can tab target them and pause them as you run. That's huge. But anyway, and you can do it when you get them back to the group. You can put them on pause in the group. You can have up to 3 mobs mesmerized at a time. This spell lasts 9 seconds instead of 6, so you can work in a 3rd mob. You're not going to want to use a melody on this, unless you're planning on just keeping 1 mob paused. So like if you're doing a lot of duo pulls, you might work it in. So you've got 1 mob paused while you're buffing the group at the same time. But generally, if you're playing CC, you're just doing CC. You're not buffing and debuffing at that point. Level 16, group water breathing. That's all it is. It's great. It also kind of sucks. You have to stay near the bard, close enough to the bard to get the effect of it. Just get a regular water breathing buff. Or, hey, here's something really smart. Go to a mage and get a summoned water stone with two charges of water breathing on it. Get like 4 of them for when you're, running through Kedge or whatever you're doing. Don't get me wrong, it's nice. It works well for the bard, but the group, it's okay. It's nothing to write home about. Level 17, Guardian Rhythms. This is more magic resist and more AC, and it stacks with your other 2, giving you a lot of magic resist, a good amount of AC now if you're playing all 3, and then magic, fire resist, cold resist, disease resist, and poison resist. Bards are just great at resists. They're incredible buffers and incredible debuffers, and you're going to start seeing the debuffing very soon. Okay, 18. Denon's Disruptive Discord. This is your second place-based AoE damage spell. And it also decreases your armor class of your enemies. It's nice. You're going to use it solo. You're rarely going to use it in groups. I'm not saying never. I'm saying rarely. Also great for power leveling, but that's a whole other thing. 19. Group Invis. Also very nice. One of the tricks about bards is because they're so fast, because this game is so old, instead of them leading the group when you're running somewhere, even though they're the fastest, have the bard follow the person who's running the group, have everybody follow that person. You'll all stay relatively near the bard, and they can put Invis, and eventually you're going to be getting Invis, Levitate, and Speed all in their melody, and y'all stick together. The bard should not be leading the group because they can just outrun you. This game came out in 1999. There's still a few little, how shall we say, Piccadillies, whatever. Level 20. Cassindra's Chant of Clarity. This is a Velia spell, so it will be available on the new TLP at start. It increases mana by 2 per tick, which is additive to a few other spells. I don't think it adds with the 32 mana spell, but that's okay. It increases your mana. It's a wonderful thing. Also at 20, a class-defining spell, Largo's Melodic Binding. Place-based AoE, so again, it radiates out from you. It is a slow in that it decreases attack speed, and it also decreases armor class. It's very nice. It's going to be replaced shortly, but if you're doing power leveling, that will hold aggro, just so you know. Level 21. It will also hold aggro without doing any damage, which is even more important. But I'm not going to go over power leveling and how that works in this game. We're still focusing on group fighting. This makes you into a debuffer. And you become an amazing debuffer, especially for speed debuffs, both attack speed and run speed. Level 21, Melanie's Mellifluous Motion. It's a shadow step. You are randomly teleported somewhere within like 10 to 30 feet. I'm not saying this spell is useless, but this spell is pretty much useless. I've never found a use for it. 22. I'm not going to read the spell name. It's just a cancel magic. It's nice. You'll probably never use it in group because other people can do it and you only have 8 spell slots and there's more important things to do. But this will remove buffs from the mob, which is a form of debuffing, the most literal form of debuffing. And it's very, very nice. Enchanters are just better at it. They just are. And they have more time for it because you're going to be... They can swap it in and swap it out much more easily than you can. Bards are a frenetic class. You are always doing something, which is nice. Or not nice, if that doesn't appeal to you. Cello's Consonant Chain is 23. Decrease movement by 31. Decrease attack speed by 5%. To start, it ramps up as you level. This is a single target spell, and you're gonna swap out Largo's melodic binding for Cello's consonant chain. You will be using this for a long, long time till you get a better version of it, which is not in Classic. This is a fantastic spell. It you should be seeing what a bard is doing now. They pull. They bring one or two mobs because they can lull. They might you might pull and then get back to the group and do CC, or you might pull, get back to the group and do buffing and debuffing, which you are fantastic with. Absolutely fantastic. Another reason why bards are great for pulling, they do not do a lot of damage, unlike a monk. So when the monk is off pulling, you've lost one of your main damage dealer. If you keep a mob in group, so we're fighting in group, right? Bam, bam, bam. We're beating up Bone Crusher. Oh, I'm Bone Crusher. I'm being beaten up. Bam, 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 bam. Okay. The bard is now... I only have 3 of these guys. While you're fighting, the puller is going to run off and go get another mob. They're going to bring that mob back, hopefully before you kill off Bone Crusher, and that keeps the experience constant, if that makes any sense. It will once you play it, if you've never played it before. While you lose, if the bard is doing the pulling and the buffing and debuffing, you're only losing the buffing and debuffing on one mob, and that's not a big loss. So they make great pullers in that regard. You lose significant DPS when you send the monk away to go pull. A monk is a DPS class. A bard is not. Something to consider. All right. Level 24, you get See and Viz and Ultra Vision. Nice. Not going to use it much in groups, but nice. It is a utility spell. You will be using this spell, especially in a zone where you know there are invisible mobs. Level 20, Ultra Vision is useless nowadays because you can just up your gain through your options. You can change your ambient light level, and it gets rid of all the darkness anyway. Level 25, you get Psalm of Warmth. There's an Eldon spell there. It's not classic. Forget about it. Psalm of Warmth. This is your first damage shield. You get like 5 of these things, and you can play them all at once, making you amazing for being in a group with. While the tank gets hit, it's your damage shields going off on the mob. You will be running, depending on the encounter. So end game rating. You're not there to haste anymore. You're not there to debuff. We've got shaman and we've got enchanters for that during a raid. What you are there for, one of the powerful things you're there for, is to stand next to the tank, or on the opposite side of the mob from the tank, behind the mob, but within range, so that they get all of your damage resist songs and your damage shield songs on them, which buffs them incredibly and makes raids noticeably easier. You're going to be giving them AC, magic resist, specific kinds of magic resist depending on the bad guy you're fighting. Like against Frost, you'd want to use Psalm of Warmth because it increases cold resist. And then you'd want to use Elemental Rhythms because it increases cold resist and magic resist, and you give them a damage shield. That's part of what you do in a raid. That's one of the main functions of a bard in a raid. That, and if you're not worried about cold resist, if you're not worried about damage resist, like as you're in Classic, we do actually have to clear the trash in a raid, the trash mobs. Then you're probably going to be in with the clerics or the mana users to keep their mana up and buff them and be ready to do a little bit of CC while you're at it. All right. 26, your first fear. It is PBAE. It is quite useful. Not very useful in groups. You don't use a lot of fear in groups. Nice for soloing. Nice for duoing. Nice as an oh poop button when all the bad guys, there's too many bad guys, and you hit them, bam, you hit all the bad guys with a fear, and you guys beat feet for the zone line with Celo's Accelerando, making you the fastest thing in the game. All right. 27, Solin's Song of the Sirens. This is your charm. I really can stop here because there's a lot of great things coming, but there's not too much new stuff. So you get a temporary charm. It does not last very long. Let me bring it up. 3 ticks, so it lasts as long as a mez. You have to keep hitting them with charm, your first charm, over and over again. But you can keep 3 mobs charmed. I'm sorry, you can keep 3 mobs mezzed and 1 mob charmed pretty easily. That's a good thing. So you can hold up to 4 mobs for crowd control. You are not in any shape or form as good as an enchanter at crowd control, but you're the second best in the game. You just are. Necromancers can hold 6 mobs with mesmerize at a time. They better not be trying to charm at the same time. They're going to have their hands full. But they have an 18-second mez, and it doesn't hit the way this does. This is just, you're so good at it. It costs no mana, and you just sit there and hold everything. It's really a lot of fun. Highly recommend if you've never done it. If you've never done charming before, you ought to try it. So yeah, you've got your first charm. Next one, you get your next mez. It affects mobs up to 45. The other one was only to 30. This is at level 28, so you got a couple of levels to get it. Great spell, but it's just an upgrade. Sum of Vitality, your next damage shield. Amplification is Lucklin, ignore that. Fulfil's Curtailing Chant. This, I believe, is a damage spell and a minor damage and a little bit of magic resist. Debuff. It's a magic resist debuff spell. So now you can take away their magic resist. That's pretty cool. So I guess that is a new spell. Levitate at 31. Mana regen at 32. Sum of Cooling, another damage shield at 33. I'm telling you, you get like 5 damage shields, 4 or 5. Cantata of Soothing from Velius, we're going to count that as classic. So it's another, I don't know if this stacks with your level 6 or if it's an upgrade to level 6, but this one does both. I think it stacks. It does both regen and mana regen. I believe it stacks with both of your other spells. I could be wrong. It may not. You can look into it if all this sounds cool to you. Look into it and make sure you get all these little picadillies right. And then also at 34, an amazing spell you're never going to use at all anymore. Bind Sight. This is Solidarity of Vision. So what this does is you target a mob and you cast this, and it doesn't give any aggro, but it lets you see what they see. So you scroll out, you look in third person, you scroll around, you find another mob, and you recast the spell, and now you go to that mob. And then you find another mob, and you recast the spell, and you go to that mob. You can scout out the entire zone for no mana without any chance of being endangered yourself. The entire zone, going from mob to mob to mob to mob to mob. It's pretty awesome. Of course, now we have maps and all this stuff's, mapped out for us. Exploration is no longer a serious part of EverQuest anymore. You might use this on a raid, but you're probably going to be too busy because there's never enough bards. And, yeah, you will be wanted on raids. You will be wanted in groups. If you like grouping, you can be a bard. People will be asking for you. Know your class, learn how to do all this stuff. That is a favorite spell of mine, the Bind Sight. Then another spell that you will probably never use, but it is very useful, is level 35, Denin's Dissension. Wow. It's like I worked 9 hours today, and now I'm trying to do this. This just straight up removes mana from a mob, from a bad guy. That's cool. You're reducing their mana supply. It's a nice spell, not very common. People generally want you debuffing and buffing while you're in group. Occasionally throwing out a mana thing, and that's about it. You are and CC, a mana thing. So you boost, that's all buffing. You boost their mana, you boost their health, you lower the mob's run speed, you lower the mob's attack speed, you raise your team's attack speed and associated buffs and attack power and whatnot, and you do some CC, and then you pull like the wind. It's a fun class. All of those things are fun things to do. You're handling buffing and debuffing, part of CC, and pulling, and you're amazing at it. That's what you're mostly going to be able to do. But you have all these other tools in your toolkit, and I'm just going to take a quick look. So the next one is, again, and it's an upgrade. So now you have a better haste at level 36. 37, Psalm of Purity. Is that your 4th or your 5th damage shield? I lost count. 36, Tuyon's Chant of Flame. This is a single target. It is a damage spell. Little bit of damage. A lot of bit of trigger Chant of Flame, which reduces their fire resist. You're debuffing. That's... Mages and wizards and anybody else with fire-based spells, including necros, are going to love you for that. And rangers. Level 39, Katana's Sword of... Oh, that's luck one. Solon's Bewitching Bravura. This is your charm that charms up to level 51. This does cost mana. Let's see how long it lasts. Yeah, 1 minute. That is not bad. That is longer than you need. So when an enchanter or a necro take a charmed pet, and to a lesser degree druids, druids just don't get the skill set until Kunark to really hold a charmed pet. And even then, they're usually pretty bad at it. No offense to people who are good at it, but I've grouped with a lot of druids, and I've been a druid, and I worked very hard to be good at charming a pet, and there's a lot of people who are just bad at it. Keep root up, for crying out loud, and pick a melee pet so that when you're doing your CC, your lowest level root, get them in place. When charm breaks, cast it again. Root them, back up, cast charm on them. Root only lasts like 30 seconds at your lowest level, and then send them into combat. Anyway, this isn't about that. So this is a 1 minute charm. If you pull 5 or 6 mobs, the main assist is gonna attack one, usually the tank. You bring them back, you pull them, you bring them back to camp. You start by charming one of them and sending it on the monster that the tank has chosen to fight. Then you mesmerize the other 3, and this charm lasts for about a minute. Mana regen for bards is terribly slow, so use this at your own discretion. It is a very powerful and useful crowd control and damage. Like mob damage, your charmed pet's damage counts as your damage. This turns you into something of a damage dealing class, but it's not something you can do every pull. You're going to run out of mana. And ironically, your own mana regen songs don't really do much for you. All right. Level 40. You get, let me scroll. You get a better cancel magic, which, again, beautiful, amazing spell. Significantly, if you're taking off all of the mobs like AC and hit point spells with cancel magic, which is the goal, and you're taking off their Spirit of Wolf, and you're taking off their haste spell, that's a great and powerful thing. It changes the balance of the fight. However, there's other people who can do it, almost a lot of other classes that can do it, and you have better things to do. I don't see it. I didn't use this much as a bard. Highly recommend it, though, if it could come up, if you could find a way to do it, but you're so busy you probably won't. Psalm of Mystic Shielding, which is an absorb magic damage and a increased magic resistance. That's a nice little thing. And a regen, beautiful spell. And an AC increase, just a beautiful spell at level 41. Your next haste is at level 42. This one increases in value as you level. You may not want to switch to it immediately, but by the time you're 45 or so, that's going to give you a lot more haste than your last haste. 43, which was only 20%. 43, you get another direct damage, but this is in targeted AoE direct damage. That's pretty cool. Again, I'm pretty sure it uses mana. Yep, 800 mana. So you can only fire it off a couple of times, but if you're tactical about it, you might be changing the balance of the game, shifting the tide of battle. 44, you get an int and whiz buff, which, again, you're probably never going to use, but it's nice to have. After that, you only get Jonathan's Provocation, which is, again, another leveling res, but leveling haste, but it's self-only. Beautiful spell. But self-only, you're not going to be using it much in a group. You might be using it soloing. I'm going to stop. I don't think there's anything that really changes much for the Bard. Great class. I hope you enjoyed. Keep on trucking, you blam blam truckers.